So Geeta, can you see the spec sheet that I've got on screen?
Yes, I can see that.
Great. So we're still on our last lesson for level 4 in education and training, and we're doing the teaching in a specialist area, learning outcome 6. I've actually got this on the slide, so I'll just go and do it from there. So our learning outcome 6 is to be able to evaluate, improve and update your own knowledge and skills in a specialist area. So we've got 3 assessment criteria. 6.1 is to review the effectiveness of your own knowledge and skills in a specialist area. 6.2 is identify your own strengths and areas for improvement in relation to practice in a specialist area. And then 6.3, identify opportunities to improve and update your own knowledge and skills in a specialist area. So these next couple of slides, they're just a bit of background information to answer it. I mean, I went over it very briefly last week with you. But this is just what I've got for the next couple of slides, just to give you a bit of knowledge. And then we just get to the nitty-gritty because they're quite simple to answer.
Okay.
So we're going to just be looking briefly at the value of improving your own learning and performance. So why is it so important that we perform well and that we improve our own learning? Why do we focus so much on CPD or training and development? It's because this is what keeps us effective in our job performance. It makes sure that we're actually teaching what is reflecting the current standards, regardless of what area you're in, what a particular curriculum you're teaching, any of those. If you're out of date, you're going to be teaching out of date practices and knowledge, and that's not going to work well for your students, is it? So it's one of those things that you need to be continuously improving yourself. You need to manage your time. You need to make sure that anything that, especially within a particular area that you're teaching, that you have to be on top of it. And we do that in a lot of different ways. And I'll discuss a couple of ways how that can be done. So with this, improving your own learning and performance, it's actually designed to help you to become independent. So even though you might be the educator, you're learning something, so you're becoming an independent learner. And then you're passing that valuable information onto your students so that they can improve themselves. They can become valuable learners as well and have a big range of skills. So some areas that this might be used for students is where they're improving their own performance and learning. Is if you've got a key stage learner who's doing IOLP, that just stands for improving own learning and performance. So, for example, like I'd use the example of my son who's doing his GCSEs now. He's got a certain set of grades that he's hoping to aim for. He's got his mock exams, he's had grades, and he's thinking, right, it's doable for me to improve, see if I can work by pushing one grade up. So we set up a couple of tutors we set up for him on his request. He's sat down, we've created a schedule, created a nice timetable, and just put him down and focused him on what areas that he wants to study. And that's him taking the lead more than us pushing him to actually wanting to improve and maybe step up a certain grade. It's one of those that he's taking his own individual performance to heart by himself. You might have an apprentice who wants to complete their apprenticeship framework, or a further education learner who wants to say, if this was a qualification that was a pass, merit or distinction, you might say, oh, okay, I'm getting merits right now. What can I do to push it up? And you can use those points to be given by your teacher to push yourself up. So this improving your own learning and performance is great for an educator because you're continuously improving yourself, your own practices, your own knowledge, the way you teach, and then you're passing that information and those practices onto your students as well, and you're giving them feedback, telling them what they may have missed out on if they've done a test and how they can go further up, and then they can take charge. Do you have any questions for this little section?
No.
Okay, doke. So we're going to look at the importance of updating your own knowledge and skills. And now, to be honest, this is very similar to what I've just said, because improving your own learning and performance and updating your own knowledge and skills, there's so many things that when you're working in the education industry. If you're teaching phonics, if you're teaching maths, whatever topic that you're teaching, there's always going to be some sort of change that happens, a different way that is taught, a new topic that's brought up, a new program that's implemented. Or you might even have a student that's quite challenging and you need to look at different ways to teach them. But we're always trying to update, aren't we? We're trying to, even if it's 5-minute conversation with a colleague, we're still updating our knowledge and skills by having that conversation. So a lot of professions need a certain amount of professional development. Now, for myself, for me to keep up my membership, because I do the QTLS, the post-14 teaching, I've got to have, I think it's 60 hours per year of CPD. And to be honest, with that, it's so easily done, because you start logging down the couple of courses that you've done, the conversations that you've had, the meetings that you've had, all of these things that amount to hours and hours. I think I probably did my 60 hours within the first 3 months of the year by doing a qualification, which took me a lot longer than 60 hours to do. But it was so. The whole point is that it sounds like a lot of hours, but when you physically get into it, I've probably gone up to maybe 200 odd hours this year so far with the things that I've done. And it's just little bits and bobs that you end up an hour here, 2 hours here, 10 hours here. It took me 30 hours to do that certificate that I wanted to do, or I did a 3-hour meeting and a conversation with someone, all of these things. So there are a lot of ways to do this. Now, I really like going online and doing lots of online courses. Like the most recent one that I did previous to what I'm doing now was the learning and mentorship one, where I learned different tricks and skills on how to mentor my students and how to teach them, to get them to give them employability skills and so on. And that took me, say, 20 hours to do. I'm currently in the middle of a very big one at the moment, doing a teaching and learning qualification, which is going to take a lot more hours. But, so I like going on, having a conversation with my colleagues, getting mentored by a trusted member of staff. They're some of my favourite things to do. Some of the ways that you can do it is even going on YouTube, looking at different skills and updating your knowledge on, say, volcanoes. What happened in Mount Vesuvius, Pompeii, or anything like that? If you were doing a topic on that, or how do we teach division in a simple way for year 1? All of those types of things. So there's training, speaking to others, joining a membership group like a professional committee, applying for a new course over the internet. It might take you a couple of hours. It might take you months and months to do. Like this one is taking this itself for CPD. You've probably surpassed over 120, 140 hours just physically doing this. And that's me doing that on a loose basis. You know how long it takes you to do your assignments.
Yeah.
So it is quite easily done. So that's just the background of this. Are you okay on these little background that we've gone over?
Yes.
Great. So on to 6.1, which is review the effectiveness of your own knowledge and skills in a specialist area. Now, to review, this is a really nice question to answer as well. So when you want to review your own effectiveness, you need to look at a few things about what you're physically doing at work right now. And it has to be very guided with what your role is right now. Really, you're just going to explain to me what you're doing. So you're going to reflect back on what your job role and duties are. You might use feedback from your learners, from colleagues, from your senior leadership team. Do you remember when we used Gibbs reflective cycle? We talked about this particular cycle of how we do things. So you might want to even go back and look at, use that as a model, but you don't need to talk about Gibbs. So I don't expect you to mention the reflective cycle in here.
Okay.
And then you might want to identify your own strengths and areas for improvement. So I've actually got a couple of questions here that I'll ask you, which will give you the basis of what I'm looking for when you're answering, you're physically writing it down. So question time. So can you summarize what your qualifications are or what training you have currently?
So qualifications, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what are your qualifications?
So in terms of the course, like I'm doing level 4, level 3, level 2,
yeah, for the particular job role that you're doing right now, what qualifications do you have that got you that job?
I got level 3 teaching assistant course.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done adult level English and maths
Yeah.
level 2. I've done ICT level 2.
Mm-hmm.
Doing level 4 now.
Fantastic. Yeah, and they're the ones that needed you. Without the level 3, and especially without the level 2 English and maths, it would have been difficult to gain the level 3 job. So those are the qualifications that you've got. Have you taken part in any school-based trainings lately or over the past couple of years?
School-based means like what?
Like first aid training, health and safety, safeguarding.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So all on this section, all you would do, I'll probably end up repeating it again on the next slide, but you're just telling me what qualifications you have, what training sessions you've gone to, and then you're going to mention, so what is your job title at work?
Teaching assistant.
Yes. So you would say, I work as a teaching assistant at this school. Then you would say, to gain this particular role, these are the qualifications that I needed to have. Then you'd list it, and then you say, whilst in this job, I've had this training, first aid, safeguarding, health and safety, ICT's training, GDPR for general data protection regulations. And then, so you summarize that up in one paragraph. On your second paragraph, you'd explain what your main duties are. So what are the main duties within your job role?
The main is like maintaining the health and safety of the children, welfare of the children, teaching them, contributing towards the resources, day-to-day planning, doing intervention course. Yeah.
And then you go into a little bit of detail within each one, and you fluff it out a little bit and say that I teach phonics interventions, I teach maths interventions. There'll be times when I'm taking on whole class groups. Keeping in, I've got playground duties. I sometimes have to do first aider duties. So all of those things that making sure you just fluff out what you've just said into a paragraph. Okay. And then in the next paragraph, you just got to say, or you can join it with this one, you just got to say how your qualifications and training have helped you to develop your knowledge and skills. So something just along the lines with having my level 2 maths has assisted me in being able to deliver maths interventions on a confident and basis, so that I know what I'm talking about and that I'm able to deliver it in a way that I can support my students. Then you might have had some coaching and mentoring, or you might have done some observations of your fellow teaching staff and said that Mrs. X teaches maths in this way, and I love the approaches that she used. So this, looking at her, observing her in her lessons, has actually helped me to develop my own lessons by this, and this. So you just explain how these qualifications and the trainings, observations, mentorship, how that's helped you to develop your own skills. And then finally, you just put down, are there any areas you would like to improve? My area for everything when I was doing face-to-face teaching was behavior management. No matter how much I improved, there was always something that needed doing. So that was one of my general weaknesses in being consistent with behavior management, because the kids, they're just too cute. I never would just say anything to them. But so you just put down an area. Is there something in particular that you can think of off the top of your head that you would like to improve on?
I would like to work with some SEN children to understand how I can support them.
Yes. You know, Geeta, there's I've worked with a lot of different children in my day, and I've worked with SEN and I've worked with what we'd say mainstream children. And what I thought the SEN in the mainstream school was is nothing compared to what I know now, because my sister-in-law, she's got a job recently in a specialist school. And the things that she'll discuss with me and ask me, and I always think that, my goodness, what I was looking at and I thought was difficult to deal with, say, there might be a child that refused to listen, or they'd walk off, or didn't want to participate, or sometimes they might get a little bit handsy and a little bit too, you'd have to look out for certain triggers to make sure that they won't getting into an episode. You think those things were tame? What I thought SEN was completely not what it actually is, because when you go into specialist schools, it's such a different area that you wouldn't even imagine. I mean, I never imagined some of the things that she's never disclosed names. That's the thing that we'll ever discuss. But things like that she's got teenagers who may have autism or be on a spectrum for a lot of different the learning requirements, and they'll be removing clothing, or they'll bite, or they'll constantly throw things or scream in the classroom. Things that we take for granted are not so. It's nice that you want to know that, because I think it opens up a whole new area for you as well.
Yes.
I think once you've learned, if you worked in a specialist school, you could probably work anywhere with those skills that you would learn from there. So, just to recap what we've just said on the previous slide, you just need to, for this section, all you need to do is review your own effectiveness. So, this is what I do, first person. So, just start off by describing what your qualifications you have, what sort of training you've done within your time within the school, anything little, big, small, anything, what your job role or title is, and what your main duties are. So that's your first paragraph.
Okay.
Second paragraph is about you reviewing your qualifications and training, and just actually saying that when I'm teaching this maths, or when I'm taking on whole groups or big classes, my qualifications and trainings have helped me to do this. Or even say if there's ever been an incident where somebody's got really hurt, or had a nosebleed, or had a head injury, how you've been able to handle it well because of the first aid training you had, or how you've been able to spot a hazard because of your health and safety training. So how did those qualifications and trainings help you there? And then just summarize at the end, your last paragraph, about how these qualifications and trainings that you've taken part in have helped you to develop your skills. So you might have had a mentoring session. This within itself, this course that you're doing is one of the qualifications you're working towards. It's helped you to develop how to create a SWOT analysis, how to do a personal development plan. You'll learn how to do a continuous professional development plan as well at the end of this unit. So there's a lot of different things that you can show. Say, I know how to do lesson plans now. I know what a scheme of work is. Or by observing and being mentored by my class teacher, I now know different skills to engage students. And then you just pop in a little bit about what sort of areas do you still feel you might want to focus on. But that'll just be like a couple of sentences on at the end. So do you have any questions for 6.1?
No, thanks.
Yep. So on to 6.2. This is identify your own strengths and areas for improvement in relation to practice in a specialist area. Now you'll like this because you've done 2 out of the 3 things for this already. So just refer to them. I have your SWOT analysis and I have your personal development plan. So you don't need to add them in again, but just refer to it and just so that I can cross-reference them.
Okay.
So you're just identifying your own. So you've already done that in your SWOT analysis. You've already done that in your personal development. But I now also want you to do is create a continuous professional development log, which is something that I showed you last week. I'll get onto what it is exactly. So you start a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. You've done a nice one, which I already have. Your personal development plan, I already have that as well. And then your continuous professional development. So all that is going to be, like I showed you last time, is going to be very similar to what a personal development plan is, but this is just you telling me what you've been learning. So you'd put down that this is one of the courses you're doing. You'd start off by making a log, just a table like this. Put down the date in one section. Just I always forget to use this. So put down the date in one section, how you did it, what it physically is, how it helps you, and how long it's taken you. And then you can put down the date. The date's already there. I don't know why I'm saying that. So you'd put down, you do your TA courses, add that in. If you did did you do the level 2 as well?
Yes.
Yeah, so you put down your level 2, level 3, just a rough ballpark figure of when you did them. Then you'd put down your level 2 and English and maths as well. And then you'd put down this level 4 course that you're doing right now. And then you can, and then these 3-4 items, and any sort of other trainings that you've done, you might have done safeguarding, you might have done data protection, and all of these. So add all of those things in that you've done over the past few years, and just create a log of it. I think I've already emailed. Did you receive the template that I sent you?
Yes. So shall I just fill the same template?
Yeah. So just fill in that same template. Put down the date, how you did it, face-to-face, online, college, whatever, what it physically is, how it helped you, and how long it took you.
Okay.
And it doesn't need to be something that is reams and reams of writing. Just summarize what you've done. As long as you've got your basic, your major qualifications in there. There's no right or wrong. Just make sure you get those 5, 6, your teaching, both of your teaching assistant ones, your level 4 that you're doing now, and your maths and your English. That items there already. So just log those in. So these CPDs are a very good way of just keeping a log of, I mean, I showed you an example of mine. It just
I'm sure your voice Your voice is breaking.
Oh, I know, it's not great, is it? Let me see if I can dial in. I'll just be 1 minute.
Yeah.
To join me, please enter your conference ID, followed by the pound or hash key.
Is that better now? Oh no.
Sorry, Geeta, all I could hear was a big echo of me speaking.
Yeah, same I could. Yeah.
Is it still crackly or is it?
No, it's breaking a lot now.
Let me put my headphones in. Maybe that will help. Geeta, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's better now.
Is it clearer?
Yes.
I've stopped using these headphones because it feels so weird using them now. It's just that I don't know what it was. I had this a stage in the middle where I just felt like my head was getting squashed, but they feel okay today.
Oh, I can hear you at least.
Exactly. So yeah, so the CPD, it's just logged down everything you've done. I was just saying that I'm quite bad at this because I get I'll log down my major things, but when it comes down to maybe some research that I've done, I had a student that I had to do a lot of different research about how to support her with her learning requirements a few months ago, and I did a lot of online research, went on YouTube, and read a few journals and things, but I never logged it down. And that probably would have made up 5-6 hours of that. So even if it's a tiny thing, like a 10-minute conversation, it's good to log it down.
Yeah.
So here, all you're going to need to just summarize, include what your strengths and areas of improvement are. And so, whatever you found, look back at your SWOT, look back at your personal development plan, look at the training and the qualifications that you've got logged down in your CPD, and then just summarize it. So give us a couple of paragraphs, and then just say, please refer to my SWOT analysis, my personal development plan, and then include a CPD within that answer as well.
Okay.
Do you have any questions to ask on here?
No, I'm fine.
To improve and update your own knowledge and skills in a specialist area. So on here, you just need to look at what sort of opportunities that you have been given to, improve your own skills. Like, there's a couple you could list off right now what you've got enough work, but take opportunities by your work, courses or training days. You might get an opportunity in the form of a new responsibility. You might improve lesson plans, coaching and mentorship. You might even do something that you're paying for privately yourself. So there's opportunities that you can get given through work and also do independently yourself. So I've got a question for you. What sort of opportunities and been given to improve and update your own knowledge and skills, either through privately doing it yourself?
So recently we have been given phonics training within the school by a teacher.
Yeah.
To just brush up our skills and using articulation. And like I'm doing the course now, which is like school is supporting me for that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And during Inset Day, we have kind of, updating some of the policies or the way they want us to work towards, or like at the moment, new targets are just improving the reading skills. So the whole school is working towards reading more and more with the children so that they can improve in that.
Yeah, when you do go on to doing this, just use a couple of paragraphs. So I'd say, because this should be a nice detailed one, so minimum of 3 paragraphs, and just explain exactly what you've just said to me, but go into a lot of detail with it. So talk about the different opportunities, talk about the phonics section, through my work setting. I've had phonics trainings, Inset days. I have a school-sponsored course that I'm on right now, and then go into detail about each one, what you're doing, how it's helping you, and how it's helping you to gain your knowledge. So you can talk about what you're studying right now, what sort of training you've had, the phonics, the Inset days. Even talk about if you've been given the responsibility, say, to teach a whole maths class or to take an IT lesson. Any of those. If you've had anybody that is a coach or a mentor for you at school, Because I'm pretty sure you're doing this course now. You might have someone that you're sound off ideas of. Do you have someone that you speak to and say, I've got to do this? Have you got a good idea how to go and approach it?
You mean for me to teach at a class?
Yeah, like for now, I remember when I was doing my teaching qualifications, I had one particular person that I'd always go to and bother the heck out of her. And I'd be there odd hours. I'd be like, Tracy, you know, I'm here. This is what I need to write down. Have you got an idea of what sort of approach I can use? Or do you know how I could go about answering this? And she'd be like, yeah, this is a good idea. Or do this or do that. Do you have someone that you just go and talk to about what you're physically doing, and then they give you like ideas?
I used to with one of my Ascentis, but she just retired in July. But she was quite a good approach, like, you know, guiding or looking into what we are doing. She used to observe me as well many times.
Exactly. Yeah.
That you are doing this good. Next time, try this.
Do this, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can even, because she was like a coach / she was like a mentor to you in a way, if the way you felt comfortable talking to her. So you can still talk about her and say that I've had mentoring opportunities with a member of the senior leadership team, and this is what we did. So just put it into a few paragraphs. What sort of opportunities you've had, explain what they were, how they've helped you to improve and update your own knowledge. And then right at the end, just put down a sentence that says, also, please refer to my SWOT analysis, because your SWOT works for this as well. Because that's where you're identifying your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So it goes hand in hand for here.
Okay.
Yeah. So do you have any questions for all of this here?
No, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. So let's go into the tiny. It's looked at reviewing the effectiveness of your own knowledge and skills in your area, what your strengths and areas of improvement are, and any opportunities you have to improve and update your own knowledge and skills. So I'm going to, this here, Quality Improvement Agency, this link is fantastic. So this will get put onto Moodle either today or tomorrow. If it's not by the time you're doing the studies, let me know and I'll email this to you. It's just a nice document where it talks about quality improvement, what the benefits. I don't know why I kept on thinking benefactor then. So what the benefits are of, you know, improving your own learning and performance. So it's a nice little read if you need a little bit more assistance in answering some of these things.
Mm-hmm.